Never Stop Learning, week 285. We're going to take a quick look at the Direct Selection tool in Adobe Photoshop CC 2017. Alright, so a couple weeks ago I played around with the Path Selection tool, and if you haven't seen that video, make sure you check it out. I left a link for you in the description. Now over here in the Tools panel, down towards the bottom, you have the black arrow tool, which is the Path Selection tool. Now real quick, if you click and drag on a shape, you could actually reposition that guy, and the whole thing comes along for the ride. Now I'm going to jump back into the Tools panel on the left, click and hold on the Path Selection tool, and in the same stack, that's where I'm going to find the Direct Selection tool. Alright, so it's the white arrow, and the hotkey for it is going to be A. Alright, now if I were to try to click and drag on this shape in the center to reposition it, and then release, notice nothing happens. I actually deselected it. Alright, now this tool, you could actually directly select portions of the path. So here, I'm going to target this segment on the top, click and drag, and notice as I go up, that segment and the anchor points that are connected come along for the ride. Alright, if I hold down the Shift key, it's going to constrain the angle and basically just keep things nice and straight for me. Alright, so I'm going to release my mouse, then the modifier, and I've modified my shape. Now, I want to reposition this guy over here on the bottom right. See this anchor point here? I'm just going to click and drag to reposition, and then release. Now, because this was a live shape, Photoshop is giving me a warning. This warning says, this operation will turn a live shape into a regular path, and it's asking me if I should continue. And in this case, I'm going to say yes. Alright, so now it's no longer a live shape, but that's okay. Alright, now over here on the bottom left, I have this anchor point that is not targeted. I could just click and drag to reposition it, and just like that, I've made a modification. I'm going to click on my document. I currently don't have a selection. What I need to do is click and drag, creating a marquee selection over one of these anchor points, and then when I release, notice this guy is targeted, and I could actually use my arrows to reposition this. Or I could just click and drag on it to bring it to its new destination. Alright, so now you get the basics. I'm going to switch over to a different layer. Right over here. Make sure to target that layer. Alright, now I see a little bit of a path here, but I don't have anything selected. I want to select the bottom portion of the shape, so I'm going to click and drag, doing a marquee selection, and then release. Alright, now these segments are curved, so we have these bezier handles running out of the anchor points there. Now I can click and drag on one of these guys. Notice if I go down, the other handle goes up. If I go up, the other handle goes down. It's kind of like a seesaw. Alright, so we got this going on here. Now currently the bezier handle that I'm grabbing, I could extend it, or I could bring it in closer towards the anchor point. Now what I want to do is reposition that other guy over there. So I'm going down to bring the other one up. That looks pretty cool. But what I want to do is now break the relationship between these two handles. Before I release my mouse, I'm going to hold down the Option key on a Mac, Alt on a PC, and then when I bring this cursor up, I've broken the connection between these two. Alright, so I'm going to bring this guy over right around here, and then release. Alright, so again, Photoshop is asking me, hey, do you want to turn this into a regular path? Now, I do have this option of don't show again, but I'm going to leave this guy turned on just for the demo. Usually while I'm working, I turn this guy off. Alright, so there we go. I've got a new shape here. It doesn't look like much, but let's continue on just so you can see the workflow stuff. Alright, so I have this anchor point over here at the top. I already have a path selected, so I could just click and drag this guy down. Alright, that looks pretty cool. Now, I'm going to grab this handle here. Click and drag to bring it up. I'm going to bring it to the new destination that I want and release. So this is kind of like the reverse of what I was doing earlier. Now this guy over here, I'm going to click on it, but before I move it, I'm going to hold down Option on a Mac, Alt on a PC, and bring this guy up. That way, I've broken the connection between these two. Alright, there we go. Now I'm going to deselect these guys, and I have this funky looking heart. You could always come in here and modify this guy by just making a selection, clicking and dragging, and all this stuff is done with the same tool. So you can continue to modify this and get the exact look you're going for. Alright, now back over here in the layers panel. Turn this guy off, and I want to turn this group on. All right, now if I target the group, come back in here and try to make a selection, nothing happens. You want to twirl this guy down and target that specific layer. All right, so I'm jumping in over here. I'm going to play around with this letter E that I have on the left side of my screen. Now, this is no longer live text. It's just a path. So we're just dealing with anchor points and segments. All right, so I'm going to play around, some more workflow stuff. Click and drag to target these anchor points that make up the center portion of the E. Now that they're targeted, I'm going to grab one of them, click and drag towards the left. But notice I'm kind of messing things up. So I'm going to bring in the Shift key to keep things nice and straight. All right, I'm going to let go of the mouse, then the modifier, and that looks pretty cool. All right, now I'm going to grab these sections over here because I want to modify the top portion of the E and the bottom portion of the E. Real quick, marquee selection to grab 4 anchor points at once. Now I'm going to click and drag towards the right while holding down Shift and then release. All right, this looks pretty cool, but now that I see this extended, I want the bottom portion of the E to be long, but I want the top portion of the E to be a little bit shorter. So I'm going to target this guy here and bring it back while holding down Shift. All right, to me, this looks pretty cool, but I want to continue to stylize this. All right, earlier we did a marquee selection over one of the anchor points, and I'm going to do that again on the bottom right section. All right, I have that anchor point targeted. Now I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and I'm going to hit the left arrow key 1, 2, 3, 4 times. All right, now over here at the top, I'm going to click on this anchor point once. It's filled in with black, so I know that it's selected or targeted, however you want to put it. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and then hit the left arrow key 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Now when I deselect, I have this awesome stylized E, and you can continue to play around with it some more. Now, I want to mess around with this frame here, but because I don't have the layer targeted in my layers panel, I wasn't able to select it. Now that I have that layer targeted, I'm good to go. All right, what I'd like to do is change this. I have a frame set up here as a portrait frame, and I want to set it up as a landscape. So I'm going to do a click and drag to select all these anchor points on the right side of the frame. Now I'm going to grab one of the anchor points, click and drag towards the right while holding down Shift, and now I have like a landscape portrait. You could also grab the bottom portion of this guy and just make this guy longer. There we go. So there you have it, folks. That's a quick look at the direct selection tool in Adobe Photoshop CC 2017.